This is the official project presentation for the I-94 East-West Corridor Study public hearings held on December 3rd and December 4th, 2014. In this presentation, I will share information on the exhibits and materials we had available at the hearings, the purpose and need for the project, alternatives considered through the course of the study, the impacts of the remaining alternatives, the public input we have received to date, and the project schedule. The project statement is included in its entirety in the hearing handout packet and provides detailed information on the study to date. At the hearings, we had displays and staff available to answer questions. The materials we displayed had detailed information on the existing conditions of I-94 in the study area. Information on design, pavement condition, traffic congestions, safety, and area resources are available. The final alternatives under consideration are also on display along with impact information. Let me now review the background of the project. Our corridor extends from 70th Street to 16th Street in the city of Milwaukee. It's the segment of I-94 which connects the Market Interchange and Zoo Interchange projects. The project alternatives and recommendations must address the deteriorated pavement and infrastructure, the traffic congestion in the corridor, safety issues on the freeway, and the impacts on the local street network. The original freeway was built over 50 years ago, and the Wisconsin DOT has completed the third rehab of the pavement. As this chart illustrates, there are diminishing returns with each resurfacing of the freeway. The pavement can no longer be rehabilitated. The existing traffic data shows a failing system. The red on this graph indicates the existing severe congestion during the morning commute. In our study, we examine future trends that reflect future growth in population and economic activity. But even without additional traffic, the system is already showing severely congested conditions. The study team analyzed the safety issues in the corridor, with the main causes of crashes resulting from the substandard design issues and increasing congestion. Vehicle miles traveled is a tool used to examine large-scale driving trends, but is not used to forecast traffic on a particular road or corridor. While data collection methods changed in 2009, the comparison of traffic data on area freeways shows continual growth. Traffic forecasting is done using historic annual daily traffic. For the most recent 25-year period, the data shows a growth rate of over 1%. For the forecast growth over the next 30 years, we are using a very conservative growth rate of half that number, 0.5% per year. In recent years, the fluctuations in data on this corridor can be traced back to each resurfacing and major construction project in the area. It is also important to remember that I-94 is an interstate highway, not a local road. It has regional and statewide importance, in addition to importance to the local economy. The city of Milwaukee is the premier destination in the state, and it is the responsibility of the Wisconsin DOT to provide safe, reliable transportation in and around the city. These illustrations show the regional importance of the corridor. Within 5 miles of the stadium interchange, there are 32% of the jobs in the 7-county region, 26% of the population, and 41% of the businesses. The Wisconsin DOT must select an alternative that addresses the long-term fix for this stretch of interstate. We cannot make a recommendation that does not address pavement, congestion, and safety issues. We need 8 lanes to handle the existing and future traffic, and we have heard clearly from stakeholders the desire to maintain as much access as possible. We will now review the various alternative designs considered during the course of the study. The replace in-kind alternative did address the issue of aging infrastructure, but failed to address the concerns of substandard design, congestion, and impacts to the local street network. This alternative is no longer under consideration because it does not address the purpose and need. For similar reasons, the spot improvement alternative was dropped from further study because it failed to address the concerns of substandard design, congestion, and impacts to the local street network. This alternative does not address the purpose and need. 2 modernization alternatives in the cemetery area were dropped from further consideration because they either do not address the traffic and safety issues with fewer lanes or would have caused unacceptable impacts to the cemeteries. Many alternatives were considered for the redesign of the stadium interchange. They were dropped due to impacts to surrounding areas, larger than acceptable footprint, and inability to address congestion and traffic flow. We have 3 remaining alternatives in the west segment and 2 in the east segment. In the west, we will keep the 68th 70th Street exit very similar to today's design. In the cemetery, there are 3 remaining alternatives: the double deck with a full interchange at Holly, the at-grade with no access at Holly, and the at-grade with partial access at Holly. Each alternative provides 8 lanes. In the east segment, there are 2 alternatives. One keeps the freeway in a very similar alignment as it is today, and the other moves the freeway south and realigns the entrance and exit points near 27th Street. Again, on the west end, we recognize the importance of keeping 68th Street traffic flowing north into Milwaukee and Wauwatosa, and 70th Street operating smoothly for traffic in Milwaukee and West Dallas. The cemetery area is where the challenges lie. The Wisconsin DOT has maintained a commitment to the cemeteries that we will not relocate graves. The proposed stadium interchange design has a smaller footprint than other alternatives previously considered. The design includes an embedded interchange to replace the Mitchell Boulevard interchange to the east. As mentioned, the 2 remaining options on the east end are different in cost and access points. For over a year, the study team and the Federal Highway Administration have consulted with parties interested in the historic properties in the area. The cemeteries and the VA grounds are home to historic areas, and we have worked with the interested groups to determine the potential impacts of the alternatives. The at-grade alternative can be designed in such a way that would have no impact. The group concluded the double deck would have an adverse effect on the National Historic Landmark, cemetery, and local neighborhood. The impacts of the alternatives are described in detail in the draft EIS. This chart illustrates the differences in cost and property impacts. In terms of residential impacts, the most significant impact is in the west segment, where the double-deck alternative requires 10 housing units compared to 5 for the at-grade. The double deck would cost about $180 million more than the at-grade alternative. On the east segment, the off-alignment costs about $100 million more, but impacts about the same number of buildings. This slide shows some general conclusions reached from our interaction with the public. The stakeholders within and outside of the corridor tell us that we need to improve safety and maintain as many access points as possible. The primary difference between the input received is that stakeholders within the corridor are very concerned about impacts to the surrounding area, where stakeholders who use the freeway but live outside of the corridor tend to be more concerned about increasing capacity and decreasing delay. This schedule reflects the long-term nature of the project. A decision on a preferred alternative is expected in early 2015. We do not anticipate construction starting before 2019. The contact information for Jason Lynch is here on the screen and is available in the meeting handout and on the project website.